What's up, guys, and welcome to today's show. Great day of Premier League action last night, which featured Tottenham versus West Ham and Everton versus Newcastle. So we're first going to touch on Everton versus Newcastle, smashing Newcastle 3-0, and, further demonstrating the competitiveness of the Premier League, how on any given day, any team can beat anyone. No one can be underestimated. No one can be taken for granted. And you have to give Everton and Sean Dyche a lot of credit. Sean Dyche comes in last season, basically keeps them up. This season, they're not without their struggles. Ownership, are they going to be bought out? Are they not going to be bought out? Then they get the 10-point deduction for the punishment for FFP violations. But after yesterday, they find themselves outside of the relegation zone. Fantastic team spirit from Everton. And yeah, Sean Dyche, that now he's really put his imprint on that Everton team, and you have to give him a lot of credit. And Everton look like they're going onwards and upwards. To be honest, they have a good team. They've got some very good players, and they're far too good to be going down. Then again, you could have said the same about Leicester, and they still went down last season. So you still got to do what you got to do, and Everton are flying high at the moment. As for Newcastle, there are mitigating circumstances, injuries and so on and so forth, but every team has injuries. Aston Villa have injuries, Bondi is out, Tyrone Mings is out, but they're still flying high. That's not an excuse. And I think that the team that they had out yesterday, they had Isaacs, they had Guimaraes, they had Joe Linton, they had a pretty good team out. Almiron, so they had some good players out. A lot of their first team players were out there. And it's not an excuse, really. Every single team has injuries. Every team's going to have obstacles. And there's some teams in the mainstream sports media that seems to be the media darlings, like Newcastle, like Spurs, Chelsea. They can do no wrong. But teams like, Manchester United, unfortunately, and some other teams seem to be the whipping boys. And even though they all, every team in the Premier League is dealing with the same issues and problems, some teams are basically whipped and bullied by the sports media, and other teams are, just brush it under the carpet. Since Chelsea got smashed, Poch isn't in the news, the ownership isn't in the news, their poor form, players are not being called out. Now, if that was United that got smashed the other night, oh, mate, Ten Hag's job would have been on the line and all this nonsense. What about Poch? Poch is shit. But, yeah. Newcastle, they look like, they're in decent sort of form, but they need to try and find that consistency. I've got no love lost for Newcastle since we were robbed at their ground with that pathetic VAR decision when, the ball went out of play. Joe Linton basically fouled Guimaraes, so basically it should have been a foul. And another incident, which I believe was an offside. Definitely, out of those three incidents, that the goal should have been disallowed because of the Joe Linton push on Gabriel Magalhaes. Anywhere on the pitch that's a foul, for some reason, the geniuses inside VAR didn't say it weren't a goal. So, and I've not spoken about VAR on this channel yet, but I absolutely, do you know what? I think that VAR has a place, but the people that are using it need to be taught how to use it properly, because the level of incompetence with the VAR and the referees is just too high in this country, but that's for another video. So yeah, Everton flying high, Newcastle need to find some consistency. The other game was Spurs versus West Ham. Now, Spurs started brightly, as they usually do, this Ange ball, attacking football and all that, and then half-time, David Moyes got into the players and West Ham came out a different team, and basically it was a Moyes masterclass. Some absolutely shocking goalkeeping from the Spurs goalkeeper and shocking defending that basically cost Spurs the game, and West Ham won. I wanted West Ham to win that game, I try and keep things professional and neutral, but Spurs are Spurs and I'm an Arsenal fan. But that being said, I did call it out. All the videos are on this channel. All you got to do is look back. I've called many things out. I called out that Kane will go to Bayern. I've called out that Victor Osimhen will go to Arsenal. And I've also called out that Big Ange will fail. Now, Big Ange is failing. Out the last 5 games, they've lost 4 and they've drawn 1. And you can use mitigating circumstances. Are there injuries? Well, Villa have got injuries. Villa probably lost their best player in Jeremy Bondia, who was their equivalent of Spurs' Maddison, but they've still found a way to play without their best player. Now, Ange has been questioned about, Big Ange has been questioned about if he's going to change the way Spurs play. And what does he come out with? It's becoming a bit of a meme now. That's just the way we are, mate. That's what we are, mate. In Australian accent. I've got a shit Australian accent. I can't really do it. It's a meme. I was watching the TalkSport yesterday and Cundy was ripping in to O'Hara, which was quality, yeah, Cundy. But listen, I said that Big Ange will fail. He done a little bit better than I thought he would at the start, but you don't come from the Scottish League, no disrespect to the Scottish League, to the Premier League and think that you could just do the same thing. You have to be pragmatic. You have to be fluid. You need to change your tactics and your personnel depending on the opposition you're up against, as all the best coaches do. Ten Hag, who I believe is one of the best coaches in the league. Pep, Klopp, Emery, who are the top 3. Arteta does it, who is one of the best young coaches in the world. First job, big job, and he's doing well at Arsenal. But for some reason, Big Ange doesn't want to change his tactics. He thinks he can just do this high line, gun-ho football, but it's getting found out. And teams and coaches in this league are very adaptable. And you need to be adaptable. But listen, more power to Big Ange, because I'm loving the memes, I'm loving the banter with my Spurs mates, and, one of my mates who's a Spurs fan, he calls me a sage, because I managed to call things early, and it usually comes into fruition. So, I'm telling you now, and I'm gonna, just double down, that Big Ange will fail at Spurs, and he will get the sack. He's already failing, and that capitulation will continue. And Spurs will not have success and they will not win anything with Big Ange Postecoglou. And that's because he ain't good enough, unfortunately. He just ain't good enough. And you need to change. You need to be able to change your tactics and your playing style depending on the game. That's football. That's what the best coaches and the best teams are able to do. So, just to summarise, fantastic win for West Ham. David Moyes doing a superb job there. He's the example of what I've been saying. Adaptation, in-game management, tactical tweaks. Fantastic by David Moyes. Spurs are falling further and further down the table. It's got nothing to do with the injuries. Every team has injuries. We're all in the same boat. Can Big Ange Postecoglou change to get Spurs out this rut? And that's something that I'll be looking forward to seeing. I want to quickly look forward to the big game of the weekend, which is Aston Villa against Arsenal. Fantastic. Now, Villa have been phenomenal at home. The Aston Villa Stadium is a fortress. 14 wins on the trot. Arsenal are going there with confidence as well. They're in form. 50-50 game. It's going to be interesting to see the sort of tactics and team selections that Emery is going to implement for this game. But it's also going to be interesting to see what Arteta is going to do and how he's going to set Arsenal out. I hope Arsenal win. That will send a massive message to the Premier League that Arsenal are not fucking about. But I want to say one thing. A lot of them, to their credit, pundits now and mainstream sports media are giving Emery a lot of credit. But I'm watching a lot of the Arsenal fan channels and they're giving Aston Villa credit, but they're not really giving Unai Emery a lot of credit. And I wonder if that's because certain Arsenal fan channels had a big part in Emery's sacking. The first season he done well. The only difference between the Europa League final in Baku was that Chelsea had Hazard and we didn't. They beat us. And then next season, the season after, he has a little bit of a rut and they're all calling for his head and he gets sacked. You know, that being said, the infrastructure and the hierarchy Arsenal have now wasn't there with Emery. The structure wasn't there with Emery. Edu wasn't there. He came in after Emery was sacked. So a lot of the Arsenal fan channels have these channels and these fan channels, as good as they are, they have a lot of sway. They have a lot of input. And the fan channels, the Arsenal fan channels, not to mention the pundits and the mainstream sports media, they were responsible for making Emery look a bit like a joke and making him get sacked. And I was always with him. I never wanted him sacked. I always knew the quality of the manager he was before he went to Arsenal, during the time he was at Arsenal, after he was at Arsenal, and now he's at Villa. And a lot of these fan channels and some of these other football fan content creators that are Arsenal supporters, they don't want to give Emery any credit because it makes them look dumb that they were the ones that didn't rate his managerial capabilities and that they wanted him sacked so quickly. It's put what Emery has done has put pie on a lot of people and a lot of Arsenal fans' faces, and that is the damn truth. I've always given Emery credit. Always. Anyone who knows me, I've been outspoken about my admiration for Unai Emery. Always. I've also been vocal about if Emery had more time, he would have brought silverware to Arsenal. Tony Adams has come out and said that if Emery was in charge last season, Arsenal would have won the Premier League because of his know-how and his experience. And I back that. So, yeah, listen, everyone's right and wrong sometimes. I'm glad that the mainstream media and the sports pundits, the football pundits are giving Emery his flowers. That is good. I'm proud of that. I'm happy about that. But some of these Arsenal fans that were massively responsible for Emery's sacking, some of these Arsenal fan channels, they should give Emery a lot of credit. As much as it makes you look dumb that you criticised him so much, or you called him rubbish and he ain't good enough and you doubted if he could do it at this level, yeah, it makes you look dumb. But you should also put your hands up in the air and say that you're wrong. That you were wrong, and Emery is a top manager and Emery should have been given more time at Arsenal. That being said, it is what it is. It's in the past now. Arteta is a fantastic manager. He's been given the structure and the support that Emery didn't have at Arsenal. Emery's definitely got that now at Villa. They listen to what he says. He's got the two billionaire ambitious owners at the top of Villa and the structure that he wants in order for him to make Villa competitive on the field. Emery has the structure and the backing at Villa that he did not have at Arsenal. And that's what Arteta has at Arsenal. The backing and the structure that he needs, that any manager needs to be successful. I love Emery, but I also love Arteta, and he's the gaffer on my team, and I want Arteta to be successful. Some Arsenal fans are on his back, but I always say, young manager, first job, massive job, and look at what he's doing, phenomenal. I do think that, no one's perfect. Some of the overcomplicating things and the tweaking and the stubbornness, he needs to sort of maybe edge out and simplify things a bit more. But this is a massive game. I can't call it 50-50 game. I hope Arsenal win. I'm going to predict a 1-0 or 2-1 win to Arsenal. And I hope that happens. And that will give a massive message to the Premier League that Arsenal are challenging for this Premier League title. Yeah, challenging. As for the goalkeeper situation, I'm going to talk more in depth about the goalkeeper situation at Arsenal in another video. I think it's an absolute nonsense, and the sports media and other fan channels on here, YouTube, are just doing this to get clicks. There is no situation. Ramsdale ain't a world-class keeper. He never will be a world-class keeper. He's a good keeper, and he was responsible for a lot of Arsenal dropping points last season. Yeah, he had a couple of worldies like against Liverpool, but what about some of the lapses in concentration last season in the Premier League running? Not to mention when he got lobbed from the halfway line in the Europa League against Sporting Lisbon, I believe, one of those Portuguese teams. So yes, he was responsible for Arsenal dropping points last season. He is not that good with his feet. Raya is better than him with his feet. Statistically, he was better than Ramsdale last season. I've never been convinced with Ramsdale. He done better than I thought he would, but I know he ain't a top keeper, and I think Raya's a better keeper than Ramsdale. And I also think that tactically, Arsenal and all the big clubs now wanting to defend the high line. The goalkeeper's the spare man. He starts attacks instead of lumping it forward. So the goalkeeper needs to be able to start attacks, play it to the centre backs, to the full backs, or to the midfield player. So the goalkeeper is the catalyst to start for most of these top teams' attacks. Hence why they need to be so good with their feet. Onana, Ederson, Alisson, Neuer, so on and so forth. Raya has that capability with his feet. So from a tactical standpoint, Raya is key to Arteta's playing style, and I back Raya. Listen, wearing a Brentford shirt and the Arsenal shirt is different. It weighs heavy, but I back him. Yeah, I back him because he's better than Ramsdale, and Ramsdale has already come out and said that he struggles to concentrate fully in games. What goalkeeper, top goalkeeper would admit that he struggles to concentrate fully in games? Number one, if you're a top keeper, you should be able to fully concentrate in games, all in a game, every minute, every second. And if you're admitting that you can't, then you've justified Arteta's decision to drop you for Raya. And not to mention, when Ramsdale came in for Leno never done much wrong. He was a top keeper. I don't see much difference between Leno and Ramsdale. No one complained. There weren't no uproar with the fans and the sports media and pundits. It's just because Ramsdale is English and Raya is foreign that the sports media pundits and also some fan channels are getting on the bandwagon and giving Raya a hard time on Arteta, trying to make a story out of it and saying Ramsdale should get his place back. There is no story. It's a non-starter. Ramsdale ain't good enough. He's been dropped. Raya is a better keeper. Tactically, he gives Arteta what he needs, what he wants, and Raya will get better when his confidence gets better. And I'm going to help Raya's confidence get better by backing him. So I'm going to end this video here. Premier League has been fantastic this week. Games are coming thick and fast this festive season. Big game this weekend between Villa and Arsenal. Hope Arsenal get the win. Come on, you Gunners. If you like this video, please smash the like, share and subscribe. And I'll see you tomorrow for another one. Peace.